Welcome to another whiteboard session. Today we're going to focus on aging. They say that youth is wasted on the young, but also they go ahead and say that with age comes wisdom. But if you look at the world around us, sometimes age comes by itself. Is it automatic for us to age? Is it mandatory? The answer based on science is that it's not. Aging, getting old, or aging is mandatory, but getting old is optional. We have two kinds of age that we're going to look at here. The first one here is what we call chronological age. Chronological age. This is the easiest kind of age to define because this is simply from the date of birth minus today's newspaper date. That will give us how many years you've been alive on this planet called Earth. And then the second one here is your biological age. Biological age is not easy to calculate because there's so many factors that come into play here. Your nutrition, your exercise, your hormones, your sleeping patterns, your blood pressure, your heart rate, all these things. With this, we have very little control when it comes to chronological age. But when it comes to biological age, everything is in our control. When it comes to biological age, we have to use all the knowledge. We have to harness every evidence that research has given us to make sure that we combat old age. Old age is not something that you have to just give into. It is something that you have to fight with every single resource that you have. Now, how do we compare these two things? The analogy I use here is a case of a well-trained dog and its master. When it comes to your chronological age, that is the master. Biological age is the dog. If the master gets into, when you find a master and a well-trained dog, the destination is the same where they're going. But the dog, as long as it keeps the master in its sight, sometimes it will be ahead of the master, sometimes it will be behind the master. But as long as it sees the master, it will get to the destination at the same time. So when it comes to this, if the dog gets ahead of the destination and before the master, then in most cases it means that you're going to die a very young person at a very old age. And what do I mean by that? If the dog, which is your biological age, reaches your destination before you, it doesn't really matter what age you are. You could be 100, because if you look at research, it's proven that most people can live between 120 to 150 years. So if the dog gets to the destination before the chronological age, then automatically it means that you're still a young person that is died at a very old age. But if the master, which is chronological age, gets to the destination before the dog, then you died a very old person at a very young age. So how do we make sure that we keep ourselves, our biological age young? Number one here is we have to become very good managers of stress. Whether you like it or not, we have physical stress. The first physical stress, which is, I'm going to call this as your positive stress, is exercise. You have to schedule regular exercise. On average, you have to bring in at least 3 resistance workouts every day. And this has to be a full body workout. When I'm talking about a full body workout, I'm not talking the way bodybuilders train, where today you train chest and biceps, tomorrow you do back and shoulders, the next day you're doing hamstrings and calves. No, this is every workout where you're using your whole body to work out, whether you're using weights, whether you're using just your own body, but your whole endocrine system, your whole neural system has to be stressed when it comes to exercise. Second thing here is, of course, nutrition. Are you eating for health or are you eating for size? You have to make that definition. You have to eat for health. Number 3 is sleep. This becomes positive stress that you have to bring into your life. And of course, number 4 here is hydration. H2O. You have to drink enough water. The other thing here is you have to have a proper strategy for your plan. You have to have a very good balance between your work and home life. And remember, this is not something that's going to be 50-50. This is where you have to practice what I call intentional imbalance. You have to know what phase of your life you're in. If you're leaning more towards making money and working more, you will reduce stress if you know you're doing that intentionally. And if it reaches a point where you have to spend more time with your family and work has to suffer, where the problem comes in is not being intentional in where you're going to invest a lot of time. So when it comes to work-life balance, you're going to have to think yourself as a magician. If you're juggling balls in the air, it can be 2 balls, it can be 4 balls, 6 balls, 10 balls. At any given time, it's only 2 balls that have contact with your hands. So you have to decide which 2 balls are you going to focus on, even though you're juggling it. And by just being or bringing in what I call intentional imbalance, you reduce the amount of stress being too hard on yourself. And over time, you keep on shifting depending on which area of your life needs you most. So when it comes to this, always remember, there's very little you can do in chronological age. That's the date you were born, and the date you were born and the today's date minus that gives you your age. Biological age is something you have to work on constantly. You can live up to 120, 150. Getting old might give you physical signs. A 70, 80-year-old man will have more wrinkles than a 20-year-old. And that's chronological age, and those are signs that we can see. But from a performance point of view, from a body performance point of view, it should not. We've just given in. We've been told when you get to 40, when you get to 50, there are specific things you have to start feeling. And mentally, we start expecting them, and then we give in rather than fighting them with everything that we know. I'm in better shape. I feel better, much stronger, much faster, much more flexible than I was in my 20s, because I've decided that biological age is in my means. So remember, aging is mandatory, but getting old is optional. See you in the next chapter. God bless.